All right, hello everyone. This is Vaughn at Spirit of Health, spiritofhealthkc.com. Welcome everyone. We are doing a series on children's health. I titled this Raising Healthy Children in a World Gone Mad. Hopefully all of you can relate that our world has gone mad. It's always been a little crazy, or it seems to be even crazier now than ever before. But there's going to be a multi-part series, and this session is going to be on medicine. Now, when we're talking about medicine, this has been my passion. This is what I feel like God's been calling me to. And so this section of this series on medicine, I don't know if it's going to be more than one. It's going to be more than just today. I don't know if it's going to be 2, 5, 10, 20. We could probably do 30 sessions on medicine. And I like to start kind of broad, give people big picture, and then kind of narrow in on the details. I know a lot of moms watch these videos. And what I would encourage you to consider is getting your husbands on board, getting your pastors on board. I know a lot of nurses watch my information. I would encourage doctors if they're interested. But I just encourage you, mothers especially, because you have such a passion for your families, passion for your children, that you would try to get other people to maybe be open to some of this information. So I'm going to talk about medicine, and I want to give you some big picture perspective today. I also just want to mention that I encourage you to ask questions. I record these to put on other media venues, but we also do these live on Facebook. So just encourage any questions that you might have right now. But also I just want to say right now, I want to encourage you to ask me maybe more specific questions for future episodes of this subject of medicine. And I've covered some of this in past videos, but I love to keep giving this information out. So if you want specific questions on caring for your children, overcoming specific health issues, what to do when your children's sick, understanding a fever, just whatever general questions you have, how to use herbal medicine. Someone had mentioned to me like doing something on how to take herbs. How do you give your kids herbs? How do you give your kids natural medicines? So that would be great. And really what I want to do is I really want to empower people. I want to empower families. I want to empower moms too, which has been my mantra for 10 plus years now, is to get away from the man-made medical system and get onto God's system. And this is a paradigm shift in thinking for a lot of people. We've always had God. He's never changed. He's always been there. He created everything. He gave us this earth. He gave us herbs. He gave us plants and trees and soil and vegetables and all these beautiful, amazing things. And that's all we had for thousands of years, and that's all we relied on. And then all of a sudden we said, well, gosh, it looks like man and man-made medicine and man-made systems and man-made technology is better. And so we've continued to progress, and which I always say, I feel like we've continued to regress. And I'm always encouraging us to go back to the ancient path, back to God's way of healing. Now that's a little bit of a tricky, I guess I could say, statement, because certainly there are things that we as a world have created that you could absolutely say are beneficial to people. We can bring people back to life sometimes when they've had a heart attack by shocking their system. And I personally have had a knee surgery that I was very thankful that the surgeon was able to go in there and remove this big chunk of loose bone fragment that was hanging out in my knee that was keeping me from being able to walk. So, I want to say clearly that I understand the value of some of the things that we've created and some of the things that we've done. But I personally feel like the vast majority, and when I say the majority, I say 90 to 95% of what we're doing in medicine is wrong. It's contrary to God's design. It's not based off of creation and the natural created order. It's not honoring of God in our bodies. It's not restorative of health. It actually works against health and the normal function of the human body. And so that's always my goal. And so I feel like sometimes my message is kind of intense, but my goal, I guess I would say, is intensity with love. I hope you can hear the heart, behind my messages and what I'm saying. And especially when it comes to children, like I just really have a passion for children. I have a passion, the Lord's really put it on my heart to have a passion to see children healed, to see children restored, to have healthier future generations, to raise up children that are healthy in a toxic world. And again, that's the topic, raising healthy children in a world gone mad. And so, again, I welcome questions in this time, but I just want to start with just saying that I want to give you a firm dose of reality. Whether you're a mom, a dad, a pastor, a medical practitioner, whatever you do, it doesn't matter. We're all human beings. We're all created by God in His image. And I just want to be very clear and very intentional right now to let you know that there is a war against humanity. Now, this is nothing new. This goes back to the Garden of Eden. It goes back to the fall. We're in a spiritual battle. You can call it good versus evil, angels, demons, whatever, light versus darkness. It's all of that. It's biblical. It's a spiritual war we're in. But this spiritual war is manifesting in the physical. And I'm just going to tell you, I'm just going to make it really clear. There is an agenda. Now, a lot has been happening right now, especially related to like coronavirus and COVID-19 and the media, and a lot of people are waking up to the lies, the deception, the confusion, all this going out there. And you've heard terms like maybe global elitist agenda or dark state, or the names of some of these families that have been involved in evil and wickedness for many, many generations, like the Rockefellers, etc. But what I really just want to state boldly and truthfully, I want you to get a firm understanding that there is a global agenda, or I will say demonic agenda, against you, against humanity, against your children, against the health of your children. There are people that mock God, that mock health, and unfortunately these systems are deeply ingrained in our medical system, our food supply, our industry of raising crops and foods, and our financial system. And it's in everything. This agenda is in everything. But the reason I'm saying that is because, for the last 100+ years, I really feel like the world in general has kind of fallen hook, line, and sinker into belief in our medical system, that these organizations out here have our best interest in mind. And I'm just here to state very clearly and very lovingly that the World Health Organization has no interest in your health or your family's health, that the CDC has no interest in your health or your family's health, that most world governments do not have your best interest or your children's health in mind, that the vaccine industry is not looking out for your health or your children's health, nor is Big Pharma. And we can go on down that list. And we have been duped into believing these organizations are good, they're out there for our health, that we should listen to their recommendations. And what a lot of people don't realize is that these are evil organizations. They're for-profit organizations They are in bed with governments and world systems to make money, to destroy humanity, to control people, and ultimately it's destructive. And where you land on the scale of believing that or not, I just want to declare that it's true. There's very much an agenda out there. You can call it an anti-human agenda, a depopulation agenda. Really what it is it's genocide. And there are many, many, many organizations that their goal is to hurt your children, hurt men, women, and children. I mean, again, if you think of this as a spiritual battle and the reality of the demonic realm and how much they hate human beings, it should be pretty clear to see that this is what's going on. You might not be able to see what's going on in the spirit, but you can certainly see what's manifesting on this earth. And there are lots of people and organizations and systems out there that do not want you or your family to be healthy and to be well. So hopefully I've made that very clear. Question everything. Question your doctor. Question the media. Question these rules and regulations coming down from these World Health Organizations, because again, they do not have our interest in mind. So what we need to do is we need to tune into God. We need to turn into the Spirit. We need to turn into people who are speaking like logic. And we need to get back to how do we take back our health and the health of our children. I've been listening recently to, I don't even remember her name. You can ask me for it. Maybe we can put it in the notes. But I've been listening to a woman recently who has been working with autistic children. The statistics, if you want to know how evil the agenda out there and how bad it's getting, there's an estimation that within the next 10 years, if things go at the rate they're going, if you've seen the rates of autism and some of these horrible illnesses happening to our children right now, it's estimated that within 10 years, one of every two children, 50%, one of every two children will be autistic or have the symptoms of what we call autistic. Now, if that reality hasn't touched you yet in some way, I see it a lot. It's heartbreaking. I've seen the children in my office. I've watched the videos. It is unbelievable how these children are so far from how God intended them to live on this earth. The beauty of God and creation, that they almost have like this veil over them where they can't see, hear, understand anything because their bodies have been so wrecked, so destroyed. So again, if you don't think that there's an agenda out there against you and against your children, we just need to wake up. I mean, look at what's going on with the health of our children. Look at the autoimmune diseases and the asthma and the autism and the cancer in our little ones. We are being poisoned. We are being poisoned. And it's a demonic agenda. And so I have really lately been hitting pretty hard vaccines, because I think that's one of the number one demonic agendas out there to destroy our children. It is genocide. I put it right up there with abortion. You know, especially we as Christians, a lot of the people that watch my videos are Christians, and you know, I think we all agree that abortion is a horrible thing. Well, I just want to be clear that I put vaccination right up there in terms of genocide, destroying life, destroying children, destroying the immune system. I put it right up there. And not only have I not changed that viewpoint, not only have I not backed down against that viewpoint, but I feel like the Lord's impressed upon me to speak more boldly than ever that truth, because I want to see your children saved from that wicked agenda. It is evil. I did a top 5 biblical reasons why you shouldn't vaccinate. I mean, I could do a top 10, I could do a top 20, I could do a top 100. I mean, there is so much information out there now that if you're just even open 1% to the truth, just start researching it and you will find that it is completely just engulfed in lies and deception. And I think a lot of us are waking up to that. So our goal here is, how do we raise healthy children in a world gone mad? And, so whether you've vaccinated in the past or not, I'm just going to encourage you to look into it. If you're planning to have more children, if you're single and aren't married yet, or if you're married and you don't have children, I'm just really going to impress upon you that not to vaccinate your children, not to intentionally allow this evil world system to poison your children. I mean, we're getting enough poison through the herbicides and the pesticides and the things in the foods and the heavy metals and the chemtrails they're spraying in the sky and the poisons in our tap water. I mean, it's it's atrocious right now. It's such atrocious. And I don't want this to be doom and gloom. I want this to be like, wake up to the reality, and what do you do to save your children? So, I mean, if you want to save your children, the first thing you do from birth is you do not allow anyone to put a needle into your child and call it health, because it's not. And so, I mean, that's just health 101, is avoid vaccinations at all cost. There's no such thing as a good vaccine. Now there's glyphosate in the vaccines. You guys know what glyphosate is? Most people have heard of glyphosate now. Why on earth is there glyphosate in a vaccine? I mean, I can tell you why. It's because there's an agenda to hurt, maim, desensitize, and kill your children. Just going to say it. So again, I'm speaking it intensely, but I'm speaking it with love of humanity, and that this is not God's way of medicine to put these things in our children that destroy them. Even if you see one child injured by a vaccine, that's enough to me to say that's not God. Because who is our God that he would even want one child to suffer? It seems pretty simple. It seems pretty cut and dry. It seems pretty logical to me. But again, we've been so duped for the last 100 years in believing the lies of vaccination that somehow that's preventing childhood illnesses, or we're gonna have a mass outbreak, whatever. I'm not gonna get into all that right now, but I'm just letting you know that the lies and the deception behind that agenda are very, very, very deep. And so we want to understand medicine from God's point of view. We want to understand what is medicine. Now, medicine, or let's actually take the word drug, drug, is a Dutch word. It actually means dried plant. Now, of course, medicine is dried plants. What else have we ever had? I mean, until man started, the Rockefellers started deciding that, with my petroleum business, I can make these man-made petroleum-based toxic chemicals and call it medicine and take over the medical industry. Before that, all we had was God's medicine. All we had was plants and the sun and the soil and natural, beautiful things. And so I'm really calling people back to that, because I just think we're going into a world that's getting more and more evil, more and more wicked. And I don't even know if it's getting more wicked. I think it's always been wicked. I think there's just a waking up, a realization. And I tell you what, you moms, I'm talking to your moms, you're on the front lines. I don't care if your husband doesn't agree with you. I don't care if your doctor thinks you're crazy. I don't care if your pastor doesn't agree with you. You hold the line on what's right and true in your heart to do what's right and best for your family and for your children. You hold that line, because you know what? There's a whole world out there that it's against truth, against logic. Really what it is, if you just want to look at it on a big scale, it's an anti-God agenda. There's just an anti-God agenda in this world. And this thing is just rearing its ugly head. And unfortunately, the weakest and the most vulnerable that we should be protecting, that God wants to protect, are the ones that are most under attack. Why else are autism rates where they're at? Why else are autoimmune conditions and allergies and cancer happening in our children? Why are we using poison therapies on our children, like pharmaceutical drugs and chemotherapy and radiation and steroids and antibiotics and all these things? Why are we using these things if there's not an agenda to hurt our children? It's an evil, wicked agenda. So I've made that clear. I can talk more on some of those things. I didn't know, Hannah, if you had any questions, if anybody's saying anything. I just thought I'd ask real quick.
I have a question.
Yes, a question. Yay.
Is there such a thing as a natural vaccine to accelerate protection or immunity in extreme cases? Something to help if someone has like suppressed immunity or safer?
Thank you. So if you didn't hear that, is there anything, tell me if I missed this, is there anything that's like a natural form of vaccination if there's an extreme situation, a way to accelerate healing? Are we talking about if this person or child already has a disease condition, like if we already have measles, if we already have chickenpox, something like that? Or
I don't think so. I think it's just if they need to accelerate protection or immunity. They did say in extreme cases.
Okay, so accelerating in extreme cases, accelerating healing and immunity in extreme cases. Okay, this is a great question, because really my heart and my desire often behind this message is, how do we get off of the man-made medical system if we don't understand how to take care of our family and our children? We must be empowered as parents, as mothers, as fathers. We must be empowered to take care of our children. So how do we do that? And those are the specifics I would love to get in with you in future topics on the system of medicine, the specifics. So please ask those questions, and I'd love to dive deep into that in some of these future episodes. But what I would say is a couple of things on that. One is we must trust in God's natural design of the human body. We must believe that God's a good designer, that we do have an immune system, that we do have ways to fight infection and different things. And you know, our medical system has us running scared that all of these things out there are going to kill us, and us, man, big pharma, drugs, vaccines, we're your savior, we're your answer. And my goodness, I mean, biblically, that couldn't be farther from the truth, right? So we have bought into this belief that that there's an answer out there outside of God. So I think the first thing I'd say is just like trust the human body, trust God's design of the human body. I don't think you have to go too far back to know that we fully trusted in God's design. Like my parents weren't scared of the chicken pox, and I got chicken pox because I went to a friend's house and they had a chicken pox party and we all got the chicken pox, and people used to all get the measles and people used to all get these issues, and it wasn't a big deal. Like, it was just a normal part of walking through God's design of the human body and actually strengthening the body, strengthening the immune system. And we've created such a fear-based culture that we don't even know what to do anymore, and we're scared of all these things. So I think to empower parents in what to do to accelerate healing, it's just understanding natural medicines. It's understanding that you can do large doses of silver very safely, and you can knock out anything in a couple of days. It's understanding the power of oregano, the power of garlic, the power of just a lot of these, what I call Mediterranean wild spice oils that companies like North American Urban Spice and other companies use very, very effectively for healing the body. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to build immunity, to have a strong, healthy immune system that our body can fight off anything that comes at it. Because we have to understand that what we call sickness and disease is just a natural response of the body trying to heal itself, trying to cleanse itself. All these viruses that we're scared of is actually a normal part of the human body, a normal part of our biome. It's something that the body naturally creates to deal with toxicity and poison in the body. So one of the problems is that we have a complete backwards, upside down misunderstanding of what sickness and disease even is. So that's a major problem. And the medical system has capitalized on that by saying you should be scared of all these things, and all of our drugs are your helpful solutions. And I think one of the most evil lies is that vaccinations are good and are going to help your children. So we are waking up to that, and hopefully more and more people are continuing to wake up that and will resist future vaccinations for their children. If you've been vaccinating, maybe you can stop where you're at. If they try to mandate vaccines, I don't know how that's going to look in the future, but I will gladly ride a bike to work and not fly anywhere, and whatever it takes to avoid putting those poisons in my children or my family, I'll do whatever it takes and trust God in that process along the way. But to answer the question is I would learn how to heal our children, ramp up immunity, eat clean food, don't put toxins in our children. I mean, I have 3 children, and I've said this, I don't know how many times, but I have 3 children, and we, not perfect, because I don't even know what that means, but we do our best to eat clean. And none of my children have been vaccinated. None of my children have set foot in a hospital in 7 years so far, thankfully. And what we do is we give them lots of herbs, lots of medicines, lots of minerals, lots of what I call binders, things that pull toxins out of the body. And your natural immunization, let's talk about vaccination versus immunization, is vaccination isn't immunization. Vaccination doesn't necessarily immunize you from a disease. That process happens through the normal process of encountering things through God's natural process of, being around animals or being around the soil, or just the natural responses of our immune system when it encounters something. And to do that artificially, to do that in a man-made way, is not only not the proper way to immunize the body, but when you start adding in toxins and poisons and this soup of poisons that cause autoimmune diseases and autism and everything else under the sun, why would we ever believe that that's good for our children? And how could we ever call that medicine? Because I'll just give you this as a simple example. If I took something that was poisonous and injected it into another human being and they died, I would be arrested, I would be tried for murder, and I'd probably go to the jail for the rest of my life. Yet doctors can put poisons in our children, and they can die, and they can get autoimmune diseases, and they can get autism, and they can be damaged for the rest of their lives, and they're not held accountable. That is evil. So I just don't understand how I do, because there's a really wicked agenda out there, but it's just heartbreaking for me to understand why we still put our faith in vaccines and pharmaceuticals and these things. So anyway, hopefully that was a long-winded answer, but hopefully that helped. Were there any more, Hannah?
No. You can keep going.
Okay. What time is it?
53 about.
Oh, okay, cool. So we got some more time. All right, cool. So let me know if anybody asks any more questions. So yeah, I really, my goal in these future sessions on medicine is really to empower parents, some of the basic things we've learned, but something that natural practitioners and herbalists and really just moms throughout all of human history have learned to naturally take care of their health. I mean, it's all over the Bible, using herbs, using natural things for healing, obviously trusting God for healing, praying and miracles and herbs and essential oils, and all these things are very, very biblical. So we want to get back to that and doing it the right way. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I have
Yes.
a question. So, if someone wants to go to a doctor and just for a yearly checkup,
Right.
they can't because they're not vaccinating.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so she asked if somebody wants to go to a doctor for a checkup and they can't because they're not vaccinated, what would we do? I don't know what's going to happen. The best that I've seen so far is a doctor who, I'm not going to say they're anti-vaccine, like they say, hey, we believe vaccines are bad. I haven't seen that. But what I have seen is doctors who don't push and bully and ridicule and shame parents because they're not vaccinating. So I would just encourage you to find a vaccine-friendly medical doctor out there. There's probably not a ton of them out there. They have a lot of pressure from the powers that be to force their patients to comply with vaccinations because of, again, just the wicked agenda behind it, the money behind it. There's just all kinds of bad reasons. I think morally, a lot of doctors are waking up to this, and I hope that some start to step outside of the system. That's what I'd really love to see. I would love to see educated medical professionals step outside of the worldly, demonic system. Step outside and start doing medicine in a godly way. So if that resonates with you, share that with somebody. Share that with somebody you know who's a doctor, because we need people to practice medicine in a healthy way. Medicine's not bad. It should be godly. It should be holy. It should be unto restoring health and building the human body. And it's not. So find a doctor that's quote unquote vaccine friendly. In other words, that won't bully you just because you've made what I think the wise choice not to vaccinate our children. That's the best I know of right now. But I do believe and I trust, and it's something I pray for a lot and I contend for, is Lord, raise up doctors who would be bold enough and have enough courage to step outside the system and practice medicine. Because I tell you what, if you do that, you're going to be wildly, wildly successful beyond your comprehension, because morally your heart is going to become alive, because you're going to start doing medicine the right way when you've been deceived into doing medicine the wrong way by giving people pharmaceutical drugs that damage the body. So morally and through how you feel in your heart and your soul is going to be dramatically better. But people are hungry for this. People are searching for this. I mean, there's a few out there, Dr. McCullough, and there's some out there who, they've just gotten away from mainstream medicine. They've gone the natural route, and they're crazy successful. Why? Because this is what people want. People want health. People want nutrition. People want medicine that's godly. People want this. So if you would just be brave enough to step outside of the system, you will find I firmly believe God will reward you with open arms and an open heart, because that's what the world needs right now. So I just really encourage you to consider that. So what was the question? Did I answer it?
Yeah, just talking about if you can't go to a doctor because you're not going to vaccinate, and
Right.
What route to take.
Right. So another route you could take beyond that is kind of the route my wife and I took. Now, I think there is a place where it goes too far, and I'll just mention this. I don't know why it popped in my spirit, so I'll just say it. There's Christian Scientists out there, which is a religion which is not based on anything good and not Christ-focused. And they believe in not going to the doctor, even if you're dying, Like, I don't believe that. I believe we live in a fallen, broken, sinful world. And I believe that there's times where surgeries have saved lives. There's a time and a place for our modern medical system because of the fallen nature of our world. 100% agree with that. But the route my wife and I have taken is use that system as little as possible, but use it if it's medically necessary. And so far, we haven't needed it at all. And if there was clinics and doctors who were outside of that system, we would go to them. I mean, that's why people go to naturopaths or homeopaths or osteopaths or some of these alternative practitioners. But the route we took is just, we are going to raise our children healthy, even in a world that's gone mad. And so far, I'm thankful that we have been pretty successful in keeping our children out of big pharma, away from vaccines, away from hospitals, away from doctors, away from emergency rooms. Now, I have 3 little kids. I have a boy. He does goofy things sometimes. He might need to go break a bone or something. I get it. I get it. I believe, again, there's a time and a place for that. But the system we have chose is God's system. And that's going to be our primary focus. That if we have health, if we have good immune strength, if we understand that fevers are not an evil, scary thing that you need to run to the doctor for, if you understand that when your child breaks out in a rash or has a cold or a flu, that's a normal process of how God designed the human body, if you know how to support your children with their health, I believe you can, for the most part, not need that system. And again, I feel that's where we're going. I feel like there's a call by God unto separating from world systems, trusting God, trusting natural medicine, trusting the food He created, like getting back to holiness, getting back to relationship with the Lord, getting back to what I believe is cleanliness and holiness and righteousness by choosing God. Like, think of it this way. If we're made in God's image and we can heal a broken bone, if we can overcome sicknesses, we must embrace the things that God gave us to promote that natural healing ability that's in us because we're designed in the image of God. When you start doing things to the human body that are contrary to God's function of the body, contrary to how the immune system works, contrary to godliness because it's working against how God designed our bodies to work. When you start doing radiation, chemotherapy, pharmaceutical drugs, vaccines, glyphosate, herbicides, pesticides, heavy metals, when you start putting these things in the body, that's what creates the dysfunction and the disconnect. And that's where the body stops working properly. But my message for 10 years has been, get those toxic man-made things out of the body, and the natural innate ability of the body to heal that's in us, because He's a good designer and He's a good creator, the body can naturally heal. And that's what I'm contending for our family and for future generations. But we're not going to have healthy children if we continue to vaccinate them. We're not going to have healthy children if we continue to give them pharmaceutical drugs because they got a cold or a flu or a rash. We're not going to have healthy children if we continue to feed them junk food and fast food and McDonald's and all these things that have glyphosate that destroys the gut, destroys the immune system. The odds are stacked against us. The odds are stacked against us, but God is for us, and you will find God in healthy, organic food that grows out of the garden. You'll find God in herbs and the natural medicines that He's given us. You'll find God in the beach and the ocean and the sunshine and fresh, clean water. I was just in Colorado for 2 weeks with my family, and we were in this beautiful place. If you've ever heard of Maroon Bells, it's outside of Aspen. It's gorgeous. They say it's one of the top 10 most photographed places in the world. Just beautiful. And there's this clear lake up there that's like, you can't even tell how deep the water is because it's so like perfectly crystal clear if you've ever seen a lake like that. But the water came from a spring right out of the mountain. And man, I was so excited. I got my family, my kids, and I like, let's get down there. And we're just like drinking the water straight out of the mountain. Now, not everybody might do that. Again, we've been scared into thinking, oh my gosh, it's like, it comes from the earth, it's bad, or it's dirty or whatever. But like, I was so excited to have this fresh, clean, pure, out of the mountain water to drink because it's just not out there anymore. It's not there. Our world has become so polluted. So yeah, if we can get back to just the natural things that God gave us that promote health, and hey, good luck finding them. I know it's hard. I mean, I live in the city and we do our best. And I don't know what we do without, some of these herbs and medicines and things that we have. And I really want to teach more families and parents, especially, and even nurses. I've had a lot of nurses come to my classes over the years. I really want to teach people how to use these things, because if you use these things, if you use the things of God while trusting God, I really believe that we can sanctify and separate ourselves and live in this place, of communion with God, and embracing the natural things that He gave us, even in a world that is so stacked against us. Even though the agendas of the World Health Organization and the CDC and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundations and all of these evil, wicked organizations that are literally like, their demonic agenda is to hurt, kill, steal, and destroy, just like it says in the Bible, to destroy human beings. Wow, if we could wake up to that and stop believing the propaganda that comes out of their mouths and the evil people, I shouldn't say evil people, the people that they are using for their evil agenda, because unfortunately, like, people are just pawns. Like, they don't realize that they're under the control of this agenda. It's really sad how it's come to this. But we have to go back to just like be in prayer, connect with the Lord, connect with the cleanest, healthiest lifestyle you can possibly find in a world gone mad, and trust God. Trust God. I mean, when you don't run to the medical system for everything, I'll tell you what's cool about it. You pray more. When my daughter jumped on my son's arm and we thought his arm was broken, we prayed more. We didn't run to the doctor. We prayed and we prayed and we prayed. Now, I don't know if God miraculously healed it. I don't know if the essential oils we put on it worked, but I can tell you, when we put some essential oils on it, my son he's 3, he was 2 at the time. He went from not moving his arm, like if you touched it, he would scream. So like, okay, he's got a broken arm, right? It was that bad, to putting some essential oils on it, and he started moving his arm. And then, like, it just went away. So maybe it wasn't broken. Maybe God healed it by a miracle. I don't know. But when you trust God and you trust natural medicines, you're going to pray more. You're not going to run to the medical system for everything. You're not going to trust in pharmaceutical drugs anymore. I'm a healthcare practitioner. As I see people every day, people do not trust that system anymore. We shouldn't. We shouldn't trust a system that's built on lies, deception, false science. I mean, if you believe our medical system is based off of science, you have been deceived into believing a lie. It's pseudoscience. It's all deceptive and has an agenda to make people not understand health and to promote pharmaceutical drugs for health and healing. And they use pseudoscience to push that agenda. So I just think more and more people are waking up to this reality. And I think in our hearts, I mean, what mom doesn't want the best for their children? right? I mean, what parent, mom or dad, doesn't want the best for their little baby and their little children? And I think we have to be humble and learn the truth that, these organizations that we trusted are not after our best interests. I mentioned it earlier, and I'll go back to it. The lady that was working with autistic children that's seen over 1,500 children restore their health, no longer have an autism diagnosis. She has been demonized, shut down, taken off of YouTube and Facebook. I mean, she is completely censored. Now, if what she was saying was just crazy talk and it wasn't true, then they wouldn't be doing this to her. Just the reality that these organizations are censoring people at the most massive scale you could ever imagine. The censorship right now is out of control because the demonic realm is trying to hold on to this little stronghold they still have over people and believing all these lies. There's still this mass censorship going on. And that right there is an admission that clearly this woman is doing something right, helping people, healing children, and we live in a world that would rather see children suffer for the rest of their lives than be healed. And that, I don't know how more backwards or upside down it gets than that. And if we still haven't woken up to that reality, we need the blinders taken off. We need the Lord to do a serious work in our heart. Unfortunately, a lot of people that finally wake up to this is because it touches them. Their children get vaccine injured, or the antihistamines or the steroids or whatever the drugs they've been using has made their children more sick or more unhealthy. So a lot of times people are just a victim of the system before we kind of get the light bulb kind of goes off. But more and more people are being educated. And again, I'm just encouraging people to get back to medicine, because medicine's a good thing if it's done in a way that works with the human body, that works with God's design, that promotes health and healing. And unfortunately, the vast majority of the man-made medical systems we've created do not do that. They actually do the opposite. So I think I can leave it at that for today. Please ask your questions on the specifics. What do I do with my children for this issue or that issue? Or I'm more than happy to talk more about vaccines. I'm super passionate about it. If you want to break down the details on why they're so bad, we can do that. There's tons of other resources and documentaries out there that do it way better than me. I'm just passionate about it. I just feel like the Lord's put it on my heart about it. My wife has had dreams about it, that if I don't clearly speak this message, more children will suffer and die. That's it. That is what the Lord's put on my heart. And so, unfortunately, millions have already suffered and died. But now is the time. I feel like there's a ripe season of people being illuminated to the truth. Because I would say now more than ever, honestly, because of COVID-19, more and more people realize that the media isn't telling the truth, and more people are wanting to know the agenda and what's really going on behind the scenes. I just think there's this reality where more and more people are really wanting to wake up to what's going on. And so I feel like that's the Lord's timing, and I feel like the medical system, the pharmaceutical drugs, all these organizations that we thought were out for our best interests. I've said this before, and it may or may not, it's not going to be popular when I say it, but even your Christian doctor, he loves Jesus, okay, great. It doesn't mean he's not massively deceived by his education and his belief in a medical system that honestly is a house of cards. Do we think the man-made pharmaceutical industry is going to have any longevity into eternity with Christ? Absolutely not. It's a house of cards. It's a false front, and it's going to crumble. It is going to be completely eradicated by the Lord. And I don't know how much of that's going to happen in our lifetime. It's going to happen in its fullness, of course, when the Lord returns. But I want to see that house of cards fall now. I want to see it in our lifetime by us saying, no, I choose God, I choose godliness, I choose holiness, I choose herbs, I choose sunshine, I choose nutrition. I choose those things over the man-made systems that are so much harming and destroying our little ones. So God bless you. Thanks for watching. Please share it, and I look forward to our next session where hopefully we can get into some more of the practicals behind what you can do for your family related to God-based biblical medicine. Take care.